What is up? What is up? What is up? It is me, Erik, the man behind Etoft21sports, and welcome to the Etoft21sports show for August 16th. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Great show for you lined up today. My boy Leo from BTV is going to be stopping by. Him and I are going to be previewing the AFC South. I'm going to be telling you what fantasy football player you can draft in the 13th round that's going to lead you to a fantasy football championship. And my boy Gino is going to tell you what bet to lock in for Saratoga. So let's see what Gino has a cooking.
Wednesday play for August the 17th. We're over at Saratoga. We're going to take a look at race number 6. I'm looking at the number 4 in here. That is Legends Can't Die. Was a debut sprint winner on July the 3rd at Belmont, going 6 furlongs. Then in career start number 2 was a good track, a good turf course on July the 28th. At Saratoga, was going 5.5 furlongs that day, and got caught in some traffic and had to back out of a spot and forced him to lose a little momentum in a couple lengths of positioning. Tried to come on again, but the best run had already been dulled. Now we'll stretch out to the mile, and there isn't that much speed signed on in here. I'd love to see this horse aggressive and maybe right on the lead or sitting in the top flight. That's the number 4, Legends Can't Die, who is 6-1 on the morning line. My value line was 7-2, so anything over that 7-2, I'm willing to make a win wager on Legends Can't Die. Good luck to Erik. Good luck to all of you out there playing along this week. Make sure to check out all of the great coverage and the great content that Erik has of all sports, gambling, and everything going on to help you make some money. Good luck.
Guys, make sure you give Gino a follow at It's Me, Gino B, on Twitter and the gram. Knows the stuff. I'm always on this podcast every single Friday talking NBA or NFL. Now, let's turn our attention to the fantasy football spotlight. The player in this week's fantasy football spotlight is Jameis Winston, per Fantasy Football Pros. Winston has an ADP of 157 and the 23rd quarterback being drafted. I feel that Winston is being hurt last year, and Sean Payton being gone is hurting Winston's value in fantasy football circles. Winston, before the injury in 6 games, was averaging 18.36 fantasy points per game. And this year, the weapons in the Saints offense are much improved compared to last year's. In terms of Payton leaving, I truthfully feel that Peter Carmichael, the offensive coordinator who stayed, was the driving factor behind the offense. Drew Brees' best 3 seasons in terms of fantasy were when Peter Carmichael were calling the plays. 2011, 472.4 points. 2012, 437.4 points. 2016, 422.4. I'm not saying that Winston is going to put up those numbers, but if he puts up 330 points in the Carmichael offense, that means he's going to finish somewhere between quarterback 9 and quarterback 13. And someone finishing that high that I can get in the 13th round, that's someone that's going to lead me to a fantasy football championship. And that is why Jameis Winston is in this week's fantasy football spotlight. Now, we're going to shift our attention to the AFC South. And who better to come on than talk my boy from BTV, the BTV Greek, Leo. Leo, what's up?
What's up, everybody? How we doing, my friend?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little offended, though, because it sounded like you tried to steal my intro. Everybody knows my intro is what's up, everybody. 3 what's up. You came in with 2.
I know. I'm a 2-timer. You're a 3-timer, dude. You know, like that's it. That's how we roll. You know, I only roll twice. You roll 3 times, dude. So I was respectful of it. I like the intro. I like the heat. You know, I'm still getting used to this new like hosting stuff because I'm usually just an analyst. So I'm still playing around with it.
We're going to need to talk about that after the show. But I actually love this division, dude. I'm pretty fired up to talk about this one.
Dude, already a fan favorite, dude. So this is how it goes. Everyone tuning in for the first time. We go team by team. You know, just kind of tell you what we think of them, any futures we like. The odds are going to be scrolling across the bottom of the screen. We're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars, over under 6.5 to win the South. They're plus 750 to win the AFC. They're 55-1, and to win the Super Bowl, they're 120-1. What are your thoughts on the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I mean, the Jags are kind of one of those sexy picks. I mean, they went out, they added some names that, people know. Everybody's waiting for Trevor Lawrence to kind of step up and be the guy. They went out, they got the coach that everybody knows. This feels like a real sheep pick. I mean, 750 to win the division is not nearly enough. Again, they went out, they go get Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Sheriff. But, I mean, this offensive line is absolutely horrendous. Sheriff is not going to be enough to help this team. Yeah, they have James Robinson. Yes, they have Etienne back, but who knows what you're going to get out of Etienne after the big injury. And this is technically his rookie year. Who knows how he ends up working out. I do like what they did in the draft, I mean, with Walker and Devin Lloyd, but they still lost Miles Jack from their defense. That was their heartbeat to that defense. That is a massive loss. And when it comes to their schedule, there are no favors earlier in this year. And we talk about this all the time with offensive lines. Offensive lines need a little bit of time to gel. This Jags offensive line has no time. Their first 4 games are at Washington, which, by the way, will be a Carson Wentz revenge game. They have to go against Indianapolis. Then they're at the Chargers, and they're at Philadelphia. It's looking real good for an 0-4 start. I don't know where this team's getting 6 wins from this year.
So here's my thing. But before we dive into that, my boy Bob has a phenomenal question.
Nah, man. Listen, I got the Kyrie Clown Nose shirt on this, in my bedroom right now. Right now, I'm rocking the I Don't Bet, I Win shirt. It's a BTV shirt. You got to rep for BTV. Plus, the shirt was super, super comfy, and I was in no mood to walk all the way over there. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Celtics season.
So my thought is this: you mentioned their defense. Back four is a complete nightmare. I really feel like you said, bring in Walker, bring in Lloyd's going to help the front seven. I like to hire Caldwell as their defensive coordinator. He'll help create pressure. Jaguars only 18th in pressure created. You mentioned the offensive line. They lost one of the better centers in the game in the door. I mean, that's a big shoe to fill. That's really going to hurt. And especially when you have a young quarterback, not having that one of the better centers to kind of help them read the offense, set the line up, that's a big blow. You mentioned Brandon Sheriff. God only knows if he can stay healthy. Like, the guy's a walking injury. Cam Robinson, I'm not as high on him as others. I think he's a little bit overrated. And this is kind of the thing that kind of like blew my mind and showed how bad of a coach Urban Meyer is. Okay. They had the third fewest rushing attempts last year. Third fewest. They were 9th in yards per rush attempt. How? You know what I mean? Like how? Like you're a top 10 team in rushing the ball per yard attempt, and you have the third fewest rushing attempts. That just shows how bad Urban Meyer was as a coach. You mentioned Peterson. He's coming in. At least Lawrence is getting some type of coaching, and you could tell last year he wasn't getting coaching because when the field shrank, so when it would get in the red zone, Lawrence first read take off. So he wasn't able to process and read the field. I really feel, at least with Peterson there, and I'm not the biggest Peterson guy, I hated how he ended in Philadelphia when he completely tanked that game. But at least he's going to get some coaching. You know what I mean? So, like, at least it's going to be a better coaching. Now, do you have any future bets on the Jaguars? Because I actually have two. I found two I like. And yes, Urban Meyer is garbage. Urban Meyer is garbage.
As a coach and a human. But yeah, the only thing I'm taking here, I'm taking the under team total 6. You can find it at even money. I really like it. Again, once you look at that start, tell me which one of those first 4 games they're winning. The schedule doesn't get much easier for this team. And again, that offensive line, yeah, like Sheriff, like you said, who knows if he stays healthy, but Lindor, I don't know where the hell you're replacing him. And again, it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is. And I love Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence has a huge ceiling. He has massive potential. But no matter how good a quarterback is, if you have teams that are getting after him, the kid's dead. And, oh, by the way, his receiving core, not all that good. I know a lot of people are all over Christian Kirk. People liked Christian Kirk a lot. He's a perfectly fine receiver. Zay Jones is not a very good receiver. He's one of those guys that'll come up with a catch or two here and there and, like, be a flash in the pan. that is not a consistent guy to help a young guy grow. Like, you can't depend on this dude. So yeah, I don't see anything good coming from the Jags this year.
So here are my two bets. And bets like these are why I pride myself on having the Uncle Rico nickname. Okay? Bets like these. Every year, the lead tight end in the Doug Peterson offense has had 100 targets. The one time they didn't, that's because the lead tight end had injuries. In the Peterson system, the tight ends average 122 targets, 86 receptions, and 6 touchdowns per game. Okay? Looking at Evan Ingram props. Yards, 525. Locked it in. I feel he goes over that, and we can see it. Everything I'm seeing, reading, and I'm hearing from camp, those two have a good chemistry, and over 50.5 receptions. I mean, I like those. I understand, he did have Kelsey, and he did have Ertz, and he did have Dallas Goedert, but those guys really weren't anything before Peterson got there. And one of my big things on football, and I'm tell me what you think about this. I look at football as risk. Okay. I would have a way I would play, and the way I play, certain players would succeed because they're given opportunity. The way you play, other players would succeed because you have a certain way you like to do stuff. I have a certain way I like to do stuff. I'm not saying my way's right, your way's right. It's just a different way we like to do things.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. The numbers point toward Evan Ingram. I've always liked Evan Ingram, even though he's dropped critical passes that I've needed him to catch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough one because, again, he's dropped so many passes. You don't know if he's going to be able to stay healthy. And yeah, I like the Peterson stat, but like you said, we're talking about Kelsey, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Two of those guys are probably two of the top 5 tight ends for the last decade. So, I mean, let's see what happens when you have a mediocre tight end.
He was Old Miss finest. Situational spots. These are situational spots I found on the schedule. Week 6, sandwich spot. Colts play Denver the week before, play the Titans the week after. Maybe able to get a little value on the Jags depending on the number, especially as you talked about. They have a rough start to the season. Get an inflated number. Week 7, Giants are catching the Ravens. We talked about in the BTV preview show. Probably the best situational spot of the season. If the Giants beat the Ravens, week 7, they play the Jaguars. That's when the Jaguars could get that first win we're talking about. Week 13, Lions have a 10-day rest. They're playing the Lions in week 13. Week 16, I always fade teams on the road on Thursday Night Football. They're at the Jets that day, and then they have a 10-day break against my team, my adopted team, the Houston Texans. So,
Texans.
Dude, if we don't live stream a Houston Texans Jacksonville Jaguars game, I'm going to be so upset this year at ATV. So that's kind of it. I have those 2 player prop futures. Anything else you're looking at for the Jags?
No, man. I'm ready to talk about Houston though. I'm excited for this Houston team.
Oh my God, I am too. All right, so let's dive it in right now. We got the Houston Texans over under 4.5 to win the South 25-1, to win the AFC 100-1, to win the Super Bowl 300-1. What do you say about these Texans?
First, I think my favorite team total this season is going to be the over 4.5 here. This team did a fantastic job in the draft. I really like Derek Sinley. I like Jalen Petrie. I love the offensive lineman that they got, Green, and I think Mechie will eventually be really good. Keyword being eventually. And listen, your boy Davis Mills, when he first took over, I said, who the hell is Davis Mills? Why the hell is this guy an NFL starter? This poor Texans fan base. But this guy's not bad. All right. He had 67% completions, 16 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions. He's a game manager that can somewhat push the ball down the field a little bit. But more importantly, this team has a really mediocre schedule. They have a ton of winnable games, including the Bears. Obviously, they get the Jags twice. They're going to get the Giants, Commanders, Dolphins, Browns. Again, that's assuming that the Browns, Deshaun Watson's out for the year, like we're starting to hear. Those are all really winnable games. And the biggest problem with the Texans was their defense, especially their secondary, but they got better in the draft with their secondary. Plus, their secondary actually looked halfway decent toward the end of the year, and they still have Lovie Smith, who's a defensive coach. I like Lovie Smith. Okay, I think he's more of a defensive coordinator than a head coach. But listen, this guy's been there before. He knows what he's doing. He can coach a team to 5 wins.
Now, have you heard my Lovie Smith story?
Do give me I love your stories. So,
all right. So I live in the Chicago suburbs. I live right in the suburb next to the suburb that the practice facility is for the Bears. So I have a lot of Bears players that I run into all the time. Some that lived in my neighborhoods and in past places I lived. This one neighborhood I lived in, there was a Jewel. Jewel is like the big grocery store out here. And it was a little bit of a late night. I had to run. I had to go get a nice little 6-pack of soda pops, we'll call it. Nice little 6er of soda pops. And there's this dude ahead of me. Well, there's one cashier open. This dude ahead of me. Dude has a shopping cart just full of stuff. Looks around, goes, "Hey, man, you can just go in front of me." That man was Lovie Smith. I mean, dude, just a man of the people. Just a man of the people, Lovie Smith, letting me go in front of him with my 6-pack of soda pops. I utterly appreciate that. But no, I totally, kidding aside, I agree with you. Like, you look at what he's done, he gets mediocre talent to succeed. I actually love Lovie Smith. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the whole NFL. And I think that he's going to put the Texans in a position to win a lot of games. He only blitzed 20% of the time last season, one of the lowest in the league. They added Christian Harris from Bama and Jerry Hughes from the Bills. So immediately with those two guys, that's going to go up. And when you look at their secondary, which is young, I think going to improve over time. You and I both know if you're able to get to the quarterback, it makes the secondary better because the quarterback has to go through his reads quicker.
Yeah.
You look at the offensive line, I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think. The main thing is they need A.J. Cannon, who they signed from the Jags, just to improve. They need his level to raise, and they need Titus Howard to man the right tackle position as well as he manned the left tackle position last year because Laramie Tunsil was out. They drafted Kenyon Green, who I had rated as my highest graded run blocker in the draft. So I think this is going to be a good unit. And with Lovie Smith being a defensive-minded coach, you're bringing in Pep Hamilton, who loves to run the ball, and he's installing the exact same offense they have at Stanford, which Davis Mills ran at Stanford. They're putting they're just lining everything up in a great situation for Davis Mills to succeed and give this team an actual chance to succeed. You look at Brandon Cooks, 26% target share last year. 26%. Guy is absolutely insane. I like them over 4.5. I think they're getting insanely overlooked. And with Lovie's history, Davis Mills, who I thought was the best rookie quarterback last year, going to take another step. Offensive line, getting your best offensive lineman back. Drafted the kid from Florida. Nico Collins taking another step. I like this team a lot. I think they're going to be. Be a team to contend with. Looking at their schedule, you ready for the stat of the day? This bet. Okay, so I go on my girls, Brittany, Misty, and Elena. I go on their live stream before I go on this one, and I'm going to be giving this one out on their live stream week one. Week one, I'm going to be giving this one out. Home divisional dogs. 71% ATS week one since 2015. 71%. Texans getting over a touchdown +8. Absolutely love that. And home divisional dogs 65% straight up since 2015. Uncle Rico is going to be on the Texans straight up on the Texans +8. And I'm going to have a nice little juicy parlay of the Texans money line, Falcons money line, and Vikings money line all tied together.
Oh, that is going to be juicy. I agree with you in week one. I like the Texans a lot. I was just going to say we got to pull up some of these comments because we have a bit of a war breaking out over here between Brittany and Miss T. That's very interesting.
Yes.
Steve, I'm with you here. This Texans team very dangerous. My big problem here, again, I like Davis Mills. I like everything that they've done. You hate bringing this up because football isn't on the forefront of this kid's mind. But I think John Mechie being out is going to be a loss for this team. I really thought he was what this offense needed. I thought he was going to be very explosive. Obviously, with cancer, he's got to take some time away, and you hope the kid just comes back and lives a healthy life. That's number one. But after that, I mean, listen, you have Chris Conley, Nico Collins. I'm not overly high on him. Philip Dorsett stinks. It's who's going to
Former
step
Patriot.
up.
Former Patriot, Philip Dorsett.
Oh, yeah, that's how I know he stinks because I had to watch him. He was one of my favorite players to watch because he sucked. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not scared of that 22-1 to win the division.
I think it has value. I like him more at over 4.5. And the thing that Lovey and Pep are going to do is they're just going to limit possessions. You know what I mean? They're going to work the clock. They're going to have time of possession. It's going to be like 38 minutes, 39 minutes. We got to think like this. Let's think about how Philadelphia played last year. Okay? When they started running the ball as much as they did and they shortened the game, defense on the sidelines, that's exactly what this Texans team is going to do. And if you look at Pep Hamilton's history, that's what he does. Run the ball, shortens the clock, keeps the defensive off the field, and Davis Mills take another step. And let me just some more situational spots. Week 8, they play the Titans. You and I are both down in the Titans, as I know. That's their sandwich in between the Colts and the Chiefs. Phenomenal sandwich spot. Week 9, they're hosting the aforementioned Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Let's just look at home teams, Thursday Night Football, straight up and against the spread. Great spot for the Texans. Week 11, they're playing the Commanders, okay, who are coming off a Monday Night Football game against the Eagles. And that's going to be the third road game in 4 weeks. And it's going to be really interesting. I mentioned this during our NFC East thing. Eagles are a real physical team. It's going to be interesting to see how teams the following week do after they play them. Are they physically beat up? I'm kind of looking into that. Week 12, they play that second-rate team from Miami off a bye. That's going to be, Miami's coming off a bye there.
Don't be rude.
Week 13, sandwich spot. Week 13, they play the Browns sandwich spot. Browns play the Bucks the week before, Bengals the week after. For those who don't know, Leo could be the biggest Dolphins fan I know. So I was just giving a little stuff, a little less stuff. So yeah, you and I both like the over 4.5. I think there's definite value. I think people are missing how good of a coach Lovie Smith is and what Pep Hamilton likes to do. If you limit another team's possessions, you're going to be in a chance to win. And it's not like the Jags are world beaters. It's not like the Titans are world beaters. And I hate to break it to people, I'm not that high on the Colts either.
Yeah. I think the Texans may end up being the best team against the spread this year.
Dude, I completely agree with you on that. Now let's shift our attention over to the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have an over-under of 9.5 to win the South. They are minus 125 to win the AFC 12-1 and to win the Super Bowl 22-1. What are your thoughts on the Indianapolis Colts?
I hate saying this, but there's no reason for this team not to win the division, right? I mean, listen, from a talent perspective, we just talked about how we like Houston, and there's definitely some value betting Houston to win the division. The Colts should win this division. I mean, I know Matt Ryan hasn't been all that great, but he's a veteran guy. He knows how not to lose games usually, except in the Super Bowl. They added Yannick Ngakoue. I think Stephon Gilmore is going to be a very, very big signing for this team. I still love him at cornerback. They did lose Eric Fisher, Rocky Sin, and Jack Doyle. Not massive losses here. There's a lot riding on Pittman and Jonathan Taylor's shoulders, though. I think those are the two guys that really make this thing go. Michael Pittman is about the only weapon that Matt Ryan's going to have, and we all know what Jonathan Taylor is capable of when he's healthy. Key thing here being when he's healthy. But I think the reason why they win this division is because the schedule is just so freaking easy for them. I mean, the first 8 weeks of the year, there's no reason why they're not going to go at least 6-2. I mean, they're at Houston, at Jacksonville, Kansas City. Tennessee's not that great. Denver's, neither of us are high on. Jacksonville, Tennessee, Washington. I mean, 6-2 is about the baseline, what I expect out of the Colts.
So, quick fantasy question. I had Ryan on my fantasy team. Is he worth picking up this year?
I'd lean toward no. I think he's going to be in the game manager kind of role. I don't think he's going to be a very good fantasy quarterback. I also don't see them being behind in a ton of games late, trying to get those garbage yards. I think it'll be Jonathan Taylor time a lot. I probably wouldn't roll with Matt Ryan.
All right, so a couple things here. Number one, which team was 29th in missed tackles last year?
The Colts.
The Colts were. But kind of mind-boggling right there. What does the name Gus Bradley mean to you?
It's going to mean more right after your next statement.
I think he's a bad defensive coordinator. I think the game has passed him by. I think you got to be able as a coach to constantly learn and evolve. And I think he's still stuck in the old Legion of Boom Seattle days. I'm not really that high on him. I know he's going to create pressure. I know that was a big issue for the Colts last year, 31st in pressure created. So I know that's a big thing for them, but I'm just not high on Gus Bradley. I think this defense is going to struggle a little bit. The one thing we saw from the Bears was their defense looked good against the Chiefs' first unit. Eberflus has a good system. I think their defense is going to take a step back. Don't get me wrong, Wentz is a nightmare. But in the Frank Wright system, you need to be able to run some RPOs. Matt Ryan can't do that. Offensive line, I like their offensive line. Friend of the program, Bernard Raymond, going to have a beast this year. Former CMU great. I think he's going to be one of the starting tackles. I absolutely love that kid. What do you think of Jonathan Taylor in terms of fantasy?
He's hard not to be the number one pick, right? Like, it's really hard because, again, the main thing for me is the fact that Jonathan Taylor is going to get the looks because the Colts should be ahead in most of these games. So the same way we like garbage time for quarterbacks, there's a time for running backs to rack up some yards, some garbage yards. And, they don't – I kind of like Michael Pittman a lot too. It really comes down to those two guys. I assume you're a fan of him this year?
Well, here's the thing. I'm just looking at his game log, okay? Game log and PPR scoring, okay? So that means you're getting the extra tick for per receptions. Guess how many games he had under 10 points? We'll say 13 points or lower.
I'm going to say 5.
4.
Damn.
4 games under 13. He just – I feel his numbers are a little bit skewed because week 9 he put up 34 against the Jets. Yeah. I mean, he had that 53-point game in week 11. He had another 30-point game against the Ravens. He just had some very high point totals that kind of blanket his low totals. I don't know. I'm just not that high on I don't know. I get it. You have the first pick. You're kind of forced to take him. And I'll be honest, that's why I hope I don't have the first pick in any of my drafts. Even you and I are in a draft together, and I pray that I don't have that first pick in the BTV fantasy football draft because I don't want to take Taylor. Let's just kind of look at these situational spots on their schedule. Week 1, just mentioned it against the Texans. Huge trend spot to fade him in that week. Week 3, Chiefs are coming off a 10-day rest, so kind of a mini bye. Week 5, at the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. So right away, that's 3 situational spots that don't phase them. Week 6, they do have extended rest against the aforementioned Jaguars. Week 7, the Titans are coming off of a bye. Week 11, Eagles will be coming off a Monday night football game. And then week 17 at the Giants, phenomenal spot, another spot to fade them. They have a West Coast Monday night football game, and then they have the 1 p.m. Eastern Sunday kickoff. That is an absolute brutal turnaround.
Yeah.
So they just have some situational spots that I don't think do them any favors. And I don't know, like that game against the Colts not the game against the Colts had against the Jaguars last year, when they just completely no-showed again the playoffs, that really spoke to me about this coaching staff and if the team is winners.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to argue with anything that you're saying. I mean, that Jags game was so inexcusable. Jags clearly didn't care about that game, and the Colts cared even less about winning. There are a lot of red flags with this team. There really are, but I mean, the rest of the division is just not great. And even Houston, like that we're high on, that's not a great football team, right? That's not a team that should really be competing with the Colts. If the Colts are doing what they're supposed to do, this team should run away with the division.
This is a one, like this is a one. There's only one playoff team coming out of this division. Whoever wins it, there's going to be absolutely no wild cards coming out of this division. This is, in my eyes, this division or the NFC North are going to be the weakest divisions.
Which one? The NFC North?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, the South.
But you got to be careful.
Side.
You got to be careful when you say that because Jordan Love is in the NFC North. He was a former first-round pick, you know.
Jordan Love. All right, so now Jordan Love. Jeez. So now let's shift our attention over to the last team.
Yes.
The defending 1 seed in the AFC, the Tennessee Titans, over under 9.5 to win the South plus 170, to win the AFC 15-1, and to win the Super Bowl 35-1. What do you think about the Titans this year?
I'm all in here. I'm all in on the under 9 here. I love it. The thing that I love the most is I have this unbelievable disdain for Ryan Tannehill. He's a perfectly average quarterback that so many people looked at his numbers in Miami and said, oh, this kid's not bad. And then they wouldn't really watch the game because every time it came to the fourth quarter, he'd choke and break my heart. And every year, it was the same freaking thing with Ryan Tannehill. And then the son of a bitch goes on over to Tennessee. And next thing you know, he's almost in the Super Bowl in Miami on top of it. I hate Ryan Tannehill. I love the fact they traded A.J. Brown. I love the fact he has nobody to throw the football to and he's going to be miserable. But now that I got that out of my system, in all seriousness, this is a team that lost A.J. Brown and Julio. They replace him with Robert Woods, who's coming off an injury, and Treylon Burks, who reports don't seem all that glowing about that kid right now. They also lost Saffold and Quessenberry off their offensive line, and we all know that the offensive line is the backbone of that team. That is massive. This defense let up over 4,100 yards through the air, a bunch of red zone attempts, which is okay because, you know, bend but don't break. It's kind of what the Patriots did for years. But eventually they're going to break. You can't have that happen. They have a brutal schedule. I mean, this feels like a team that's in no man's land right now. Like they want to rebuild. But in reality, Mike Vrabel's a really good head coach. I'm sorry. I just saw the comment about the painting.
Yeah, what we got there?
That's a great question. My mother would be more apt to answer this question. This is, yeah, I mean, that's the first booby I ever saw. I can confirm that.
Okay. Interesting.
Credit to this team who knew that it was a Bridgerton painting. Credit to you. You knew more about the painting than I did.
Yes. Art is not my strong suit. Breaking down like random offensive lines in college football and NFL, I can do all day, but knowing art, I know absolutely nothing. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Let's go back to the Tennessee Titans.
You sure you don't want to stay on the painting?
I do not want to stay on the team. You mentioned their defense. They surrendered the 8th most passing yards last season, but only gave up 24 passing touchdowns, 7th best in the NFL. You mentioned the bend don't break. In the red zone, their defense was 4th because they play this matchup zone, not man-to-man. In man-to-man, these DBs are awful. They can't keep up. I really feel they need to go a little bit more zone for the whole duration of the field and not just when the field shrinks. You mentioned the offensive line. You know, they lost my boy, Roger Scaffold, lost Quisenberry. Both those guys were top 13 PFF in run blocking. this is a run-first team. Also, we need to remember they lost A.J. Brown. They brought in the kid from Arkansas that you mentioned, Burke. I'm going to be honest, the guy I know in the Titans camp, like, kid can't pass his physical. Kid showed up insanely out of shape, already in the coach's doghouse. So that is going to lead to more stacked boxes that they are going to be going against. Going against the stacked boxes, I really think is going to be hard for Derrick Henry because they're replacing Scaffel and Quisenberry with Aaron Brewer back up on the team last year and Jamarco Jones signed from Seattle, who had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. Also, let's face it, Tyler Lewan hasn't been the same since he tore his ACL. He just hasn't. So offensive line is going to need to improve, facing stacked boxes. And Derrick Henry has touched the ball 955 times in the last 3 seasons. And he's running around with screws in his foot from the Jones fracture. When you just say that out loud, this has disaster written absolutely all over it. A defense, bend, don't break. Offense, no playmaker in A.J. Brown. And they don't have Julio Jones. At least if you have Julio Jones, you at least have to respect him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You have no one on the outside that can really garner any respect. I think this offense is going to struggle a lot. So yeah, I'm a little bit down on him. They have no playmakers on the outside. Do you think we see Malik Willis? And if we do see Malik Willis, like, I'm just looking at their schedule right now, they have that early bye. You know, if they had a later bye and they were struggling, I could see Malik Willis coming in. I mean, if they're out of playoff contention, do you think he does week 14 against Jacksonville?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually going to propose this to you that what do you think the Titans could get right now for Ryan Tannehill?
Where would he go?
Giants.
You really aren't sold on Danny. You really aren't sold on Danny Dimes, are you?
Danny Dimes. That guy sucks. Like, Brian Dable needs to get him the hell out of there. If they go get a legit quarterback, they're a real threat in that division. Okay? But Danny Dimes is so freaking bad, dude. I mean, I was doing work for BTV at the Pats Giants preseason game. My God, he sucks. And every single Giant fan that I talked to was miserable the entire time that he was in the game. They couldn't wait for – they're the only fan base that couldn't wait for the second stringers to come in. That's how much he sucks.
I don't know. Like, if I'm the Giants, I don't know, maybe a 5th, 4th at most. 5th
really?
Or 4th. I mean,
you don't think they could get? No. You don't think that the Titans could get 3rd, maybe a 2nd, if you get a little bidding war started here? For Ryan Tannehill, specifically from the Giants, because, again, he kind of fits into their system. You don't think that, not to mention the fact that Giants aren't all that smart to begin with, you don't think they could squeeze a 3rd or maybe 2nd round? But more importantly, that just kind of kickstarts the rebuild, right? And which is something that they need to do. They're headed that way anyways. Derrick Henry's been hurt. I think you nailed it. I'm on his under rushing props. With that offensive line, 0 outside threats, and the screws in his leg, where the hell is he going over? No chance. None.
I mean, the thing about Tannehill is this. He's signed until, I believe, 2026. Okay? And he's making $29 million a year. He's good enough. You look at next year's draft class. Next year's draft class, you got the kid from Miami, the kid from Kentucky, the kid from Ohio State, oh my God, who's the other kid? The kid from Alabama. Right there, that's 4 quarterbacks that are probably going to be drafted in the top 10. Okay? It's a very talented, driven quarterback class. And we all know, like, to win, you kind of have to win when your quarterback's on that rookie deal. And you're going to be paying this guy $29 million a year. You know, I would, like, it would make more sense for me if, no, you can't even do that, though, because his contract's so long. I was going to say it makes more sense to me if the Browns would do it if Watson's suspended. No, seriously, like a team like that, or like it's just a team that is close and their quarterback gets hurt and they need someone. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Because he's going to be 38 years old making $29 million.
I mean, I'm just saying he's one of those guys that I think you could have gotten something for him this offseason. I think the fact that Tennessee didn't was a massive mistake.
Yes, this is a Rock Respect hoodie. Probably my new favorite shirt, short sleeve. Phenomenal. Back to Tannehill though. I don't know. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head. He's just not that good. He needs a good, solid running game. And with that hit to the offensive line, that's going to be a big hit. Giants, would he fit in the Giants? Yeah, he would absolutely fit in the Giants. But I just think that with what Brian DeBoer wants to do, he's better off just seeing what Danny Dimes has. And then if they don't get someone, just draft someone in the draft. An interesting one would be Tom Brady's out of Dodge. Maybe Tampa if something's up with Brady. Or Jameis Winston where he hurts himself.
Whoa. I'm not letting that go. What do you know?
What?
Don't what me. What do you know? You don't throw that out with Tom Brady without knowing something. You got something?
No. I was told I have to use the word allegedly. There may be some stuff coming out against them with how stuff went down with what happened with Miami and Miami trying to get them there. Allegedly, there could be some stuff happening.
Now that would warm my heart. Now that would really warm my heart because you know what? My Dolphins, if you don't mind me getting sidetracked here, Dolphins are the only team on God's green earth that can somehow screw up losing. We're the only team that can't even lose correctly. It is unbelievable how bad of a franchise you have to be to screw up losing. Do you realize how difficult that is to do?
Here's my thing to this. Your owner is a knucklehead.
He's a buffoon. He's not a knucklehead. He's a buffoon.
And to me, I think there's more things that may come out about this because he may allegedly have ties to a sports betting business. So that right there, because of that and him, that this whole thing, it wouldn't surprise me if this completely just spirals out of control and we see a lot of stuff happening. Let's go back to the Titans real quick. Situational spots. Week 2, Bills, 10-day rest. Bills coming off that Thursday night game to open up the season in a couple of weeks. Week 9, you have the Chiefs coming off a bye. Week 10, they have the Broncos coming off a bye. Week 11, at Green Bay, at Thursday Night Football. So already, I just read 4 situational spots that don't go in their favor. Week 12, 10 days off before they play the Bengals. This is their Super Bowl right here. They want revenge after losing to the Bengals. I'm still upset at how they lost that game because I had the Titans minus the points there. I will be hammering the Titans in that game. Week 13, if they beat the Bengals the week before, totally going to be fading them. We'll be laying the points when they play Philadelphia right there. Week 17, this is their one situational spot that works in their favor. Possibly works in their favor. They're hosting the Cowboys. Cowboys the week before the Commanders. Week before have the Eagles. Week after have the Commanders. I mean, we all know the NFC East is a complete cluster, and it always goes down to the last game. So that could be a situation where it's a good situational spot to fade them. But yeah, I'm a little bit down on them. The 9.5 is juice, though. I would actually, if you could find a prop where the Titans finished 3rd in the conference, that'd probably be plus 400. I would look to take that before I play the under.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I just no. I mean, I'm really confident in this team total under. Again, there just aren't that many winnable games. This is a difficult schedule.
Yeah.
And the early bye doesn't help this team. Like, they're going to get fatigued toward the end of the year, and toward the end of the year, you have tough games. I mean, in the second half of the season, you're at Lambeau against Green Bay. You're against the Bengals, which I understand is a revenge game, but in reality, the Bengals are a much better team than they are. You have Philadelphia, who are both really high on. You're on the road to the Chargers. I mean, again, you're playing Dallas, and I know they have Mike McCarthy, the king of buffoons, but at the same time, that Dallas Cowboys team should wipe the floor with them. They should be able to do whatever the hell they want with this Tennessee team. And again, you're one injury away. One injury to Derrick Henry, and this thing's over. He's the one player. And you know what? After last year, who knows if this guy can stay healthy? I know it's one injury. I know it's 1 year, but he's a running back. He's a physical running back. Who knows if he can hold up this full season? But if he goes down, you're looking at a 4 or 5 win team here.
Yeah, if he goes down, it's going to spiral. But with that being said, I think they made a mistake drafting Malik Willis just because I don't see it with him. I think they would have been better off. We talked about the quarterback class coming out. I think they would have been better off waiting and getting one this year.
Yeah,
that's just me. But interesting conference. I think there's money to be had. My 3 futures are Evan Ingram over 525.5 receiving yards, over 50.5 receptions, and the Houston Texans over 4.5 wins. Leo, what are your futures in this conference?
Yeah, I'm going with the under 6 on the Jags at even money. I'm going to take the over 4.5 with the Texans. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on 22-1 on the Texans to win the division. That's kind of one of those plays I may look to hedge out toward the end of the year if we have a chance. Nothing on the Colts, and then I'm all over the under 9 and for the Tennessee Titans. I just don't see a way for them to get there.
Leo, I'd like to thank you for coming on. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
Head on over, baby. BetterThanVegas.com. We have free contests every week. $250 is on the line every week. Totally free to do. For those of you that like doing shows like this, you can even upload the shows. We'll help promote it. Make sure you guys follow at BTV Bets because we do free contests. Jonathan Papelbon's on there. He's the absolute man. We have a new podcast. BTV is just the hub of all of it, man. I mean, anything you want. Any sport you want to bet on, any time of day, we have something for you. We have free contests. We give away free money. I mean, we do everything, man. So go follow at BTV Bets, and any questions, shoot us a DM, and we'll make sure to hook you up.
Yeah, and also, if you're looking for a sports book, shoot Leo a DM. He can point you in the right direction and maybe able to give you allegedly may be able to give you a little favor in return. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you back next week.